The opinions expressed on the Simone Edwards Show by our guests are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station, its owners, and or the Simone Edwards Show and those affiliated with it. In no event will the Simone Edwards Show, this station, its owners, guests, hosts, or affiliates be liable for the information disseminated on the program, including, without limitation, any loss or damage, indirect or otherwise, arising from information presented on the show. We trust you are of legal age and will consult appropriate professionals prior to employing any opinion expressed on the show. Many of the topics discussed are personal in nature, and some people may disagree with the opinions expressed on the show. We are open to your constructive criticism and or ideas for future radio programs. Please feel free to email us at the Simone Edwards Show at gmail.com. Again, that's the Simone Edwards Show at gmail.com. Hey everyone, we want to welcome you to another installment of the Simone Edwards Show here on this station. We are live on Facebook as well as on the radio station. I have the pleasure of having the Atchisons in studio with us. Donald's going to be talking to us a little bit later about finances and how to get our money right and get our money together. And this is somebody who actually knows money, so you want to make sure that you're tuning in and that you connect with him if at all possible. He's here in the San Diego area. For those of you who live in San Diego, you'll want to connect with him. He has a program that he runs every Saturday.
Yes.
Every Saturday called the Economic Development Ministry, where he teaches people how to manage their wealth as well as how to invest. So if you are looking to create a legacy, you have tuned in to the right place today. So before we jump off into the deep end, let's meet the Atchisons. We have Donald to my immediate right. We have Dondi, and we have Charmin.
Wow.
Yes. I remember.
Yeah, I see. That's what you do.
So every once in a while, I remember. It's a spider.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us about the Atchison. So where are you guys from? How did you meet? Let's find first of all.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. So, let me tell you. Okay, so my wife, it was a laundromat, and when I was walking into the laundromat, I saw her. And I knew I was going to marry her. Mm-hmm. I didn't, no question about it. And she was standing there. I got to stand up and kind of like show you it. No, I got to show this because this is a big part of why I married her. It's not an exaggeration. It's the truth. So she's standing there texting like this, just wagging. No, that's real. So, okay, and so I see her. I know I'm going to marry her, not because she's wagging, but because I wasn't dealing with women at that time. I wasn't dating. I wasn't on my mind, and she caught my attention. And I had been married 2 times before, and the one thing about marriage is that I knew that I needed to be the person that I needed to be in order to get the person that I needed to have in my life. I had
That's
to be
good
that
advice.
Person. Yeah, and so, it's real good advice, and it's good financial advice too, because divorce is hurt. Emotionally, financially, it hurts. But I met her like that. I saw her, and I said to myself, I am not going to say anything to this woman unless she looks at me. But I knew I was going to marry her.
Wow. Mm-hmm. How did you know you were going to marry her?
Because I got my shit right, and for me to be attracted to her meant that she was meant for me.
Wow. So what in your life wasn't together before?
Nothing from not emotional stability, mental stability, my perception of women, my perception of myself, how I went about life. I wasn't a selfish person, but I wasn't actively involved in helping other people, and I wasn't taking advantage of the talents that I had. That was my biggest mess up in life, just not taking advantage of the talents that I had.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to touch on that a little bit more.
Okay.
Because you said something I think that's really important. A lot of times we think only from a relationship standpoint about getting ourselves together, but oftentimes if you want to get yourself together financially as well, you kind of have to get yourself together in order to attract whatever money is coming into your life. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Charmin, tell us your side of the story.
Of how we met?
Mm-hmm.
This is funny. I remember I was I guess leaned on the table texting. Mm-hmm. I don't remember wagging nothing. That's why I think that was added to what he saw. But I saw him come in out of the corner of my eye. Mm-hmm. And I just, because it's a tall, dark figure, and I didn't think nothing of it. Everybody's coming in there. And that's the one and only time both of us went to that to a laundromat, that laundromat. And so he comes in, and I can
So wait a minute, you hadn't been to
you guys don't.
It just happened to be that we happened to go to that laundromat because his machines were broken down, and I don't remember what's going on with me. I had rented a car, so I could go do all that stuff because I didn't have a car at the time.
Wow.
And it just happens that we both were there that one time we were going. Mm-hmm. And I'm continuing what I'm doing, and I just felt him calling me. You know, and I don't know why I looked up. I felt him calling me. That's why I looked up, and I looked over, and came.
I didn't hesitate. I
came right over.
As soon as she looked, I was over there.
Okay, and so he starts this wonderful conversation, and he had on one of those. We call it a dread hat with the fake dreads that hang out of it. I thought he had a fake dread hat on. Oh. And so he's having this conversation. I'm cool with silly people. And he's just talking. I'm like, he's a funny guy, whatever. But he's having such a serious conversation for so long. I was like, okay, he's having a conversation with me like he's not standing there wearing this fake dread hat. So I thought he was crazy. So I'm like, okay, how can I snap a picture of him and post it on Facebook and say, this crazy dude is up here talking to me?
Whatever. So...
it was hilarious. I had not seen dreadlocks like this before, I guess, and it's the way he was wearing it. It made me think it was fake.
Right.
We talked about marriage and babies. That first encounter.
Wait a minute. The first time y'all met, y'all talked about marriage and babies.
I'm not.
You broke every rule, right?
I don't want to.
He's a rule breaker. Period. Yeah. Anyway, I'm like, I don't know how he gets away with things he gets away with.
Well, I'm 45 today. I'll be 46 in a couple of months. And the thing of it is I was over 40 when I met her. I've been through 2 divorces. Why the hell am I going to date? I mean, I want to build an empire, and I know what I need to get there. So why are we going to play with this? Either I'm going to marry you or we're not. So we talked about those things right away. We talked about this one right away. I said, where do you see yourself in like 3 years? She says, married with 2 children. I was with that. That's what I wanted. We got one. It's been a little longer than 3 years, and I'm getting closer to 50. I don't know about the second one, but we're working on it.
Okay.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Okay, and so this one came along. When did she come along?
December 1st, 2014.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep.
And how old is Dondi?
She's 2.
Hi, Dondi.
Say hi.
Say hi, Dondi.
Hi, Dondi.
Can you say hi to our audience?
Say hi. Wave to the camera.
Hi.
A big part of EDM classes, as y'all
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I don't do business with people that can't do business with my baby, so I take her into banks and business deals, and she gets loud, and how babies do and stuff like that, and that's kind of like my measuring stick. If people can't deal with a 2-year-old, then I don't really want to deal with you because I have an idea how you're treating your kids at home or not treating your kids. And I have an idea of what you put first. So for me, my family is first, and then that's how I build my wealth. And that's why I build my wealth. It's way more important than what I do. It's why I do it.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So yeah, your wife is absolutely correct. You are a rule breaker because a lot of time, if we look at the conventional method of how you conduct business, you wouldn't bring a child, right?
Yeah.
But if that's your measuring stick.
It's not on a measuring stick. She's learning by exposure. That's the best way to teach her. I don't have to say Dondi this or Dondi that. I'm just gonna take you into the business deal. You're gonna experience, like my daughter, when she was just maybe a year and a half or even under that. She would run into the karate school at the beginning of the class in the front, and she would stand there. And when it's time to bow in, she'd bow in, and people used to get a kick out of that because she's only 18 months, and it's because she's seen us do it over and over again.
Right.
In the class, I don't say Dondi do this, do that. She's over there kicking and punching with us because it's exposure, and that's how we raise our kids. That's how I'm raising mine.
Right.
Because exposure is the biggest lesson. That's why you got to be careful what you let them hear, what you let them see and experience. She'll never see the inside of a school because we are her. We're going to teach her. And if it's going to be a school, you can best believe, it's going to. I have a charter that I'm forming right now. I got a great team with PhDs and master's degrees and bachelor's degrees, and we're putting together a charter. And if she's going to be in school, it's going to be in the school that we produced, that we made. It's going to be state certified, qualified. We'll be meeting all state regulations and stuff like that. But we put that school together, and that's the only way she's going to ever see it inside of a school, other than a college university.
Wow. Yeah. So for her formative as well as when she goes into high school, it'll all be homeschool or through the school that you
absolutely,
build?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But see, I have a philosophy, and that is that there is no reason for a kid to graduate from high school at 18. It's just ridiculous to me. Why is only graduate from high school at 18? So they should be taking college courses when they're in junior high or even elementary. So if they're going to be taking algebra, it should be an algebra accredited class. It should be same thing for history and science, so that when they're 18, they have their college degree out of the way, they got their primary education out of the way, they even have some investments, whether it was through life insurance and etc. So when they're stepping out into the world, they're not saying, okay, I got to get this 9 to 5 because it's time for me to grow up. It's having the resources and saying, no, all this time went into developing myself. I know what I'm supposed to do as a human being, and I have the resources to do that as a human being.
So you see 18 really as a launching pad into life, not so much a starting ground.
No, it's not a starting ground at all. That's way too late. It starts before they're born. I'm with the philosophy of that my child was formulated when I was making my thoughts and it was affecting my sperm. That's when Donnie was being formulated. And it's the same thing with her egg. So if I was beating on her mother or mistreating her mother, or if she was feeling a certain way, that went into producing that egg. So you produce a child that comes out nervous or insecure or this or that. We didn't do that. We gave her great genetics from both sides, and now we're going to cultivate those genetics, and we're going to all the way through. That's so important.
Wow, that's really incredible. I really like your perspective, because it's really holistic and whole family, and it's about passing on what you have to the generations and trusting her with then passing that on to her children.
Absolutely. Okay, so I was in a college class. This was the day she was born. Okay, not the day she was born, but I was in a college class, and there's a professor. She was one of my favorite professors in a psychology class. And this professor, she didn't show up for a class. She didn't show up for another class, and so there was a sub, and she didn't show up for another class. It was like 2 weeks this went on. Finally, she shows back up, and she apologizes to us. She says, I didn't email you. I didn't show up. She says, my daddy died. And I looked at her, you could see she was torn up, and she cleared her face and went on with the class, never said anything else. But I told myself right there, that's what I want. The love that I saw in that woman's heart for her father, her daddy, that's what I want from my child. I want her to someday say, my daddy died. Right. And that person knows that girl right there was treated right by her daddy. That's what I want, and that's what I'm fighting for. I give it everything. Now, me and my wife disagree. We argue sometimes over what we're going to do with our kid, but at the end of the day, I always lean to what my wife says, because I know at the end of the day, even though I don't get it, she's probably right when it comes down to raising our daughters. So I try not to be male, and I try to go ahead and submit to my wife, because I know this is for Don. This is for Dondi. It's not for me.
Wow, that's really awesome. So, Charmin, what is it that what are your some of the viewpoints that you have that you're kind of like, no, this is what's best for our daughter in that moment that you can share?
Punishment versus reward sometimes.
Okay.
Being maybe a little more patient when I know she's tired or hungry or agitated or something like that.
Right.
And he wants the order, and I'm like, give her a little lenience, sometimes.
Right.
Leniency sometimes. That's really, they're not big,
not
big things, but because really we look at her and we like, okay, he has, a lot of times he has to come to realization this is a little Donald. A lot of the time. Why is she so loud? Well, why is she so pushy? Well, I mean, come on. I got a Band-Aid on you.
Said Daddy needs one.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that so from the beginning, I knew that my wife was going to be right in areas that I was probably going to be wrong. So that's one of the things I default to in this relationship, because whether a woman is maybe a good woman or a bad woman, most of the time when it comes down to their core and their essence, they're right. And unless it's like direct, immediate threat, more than likely the man is going to be right at that point, when it's just instantaneous and we got to respond. But when it comes down to deep thought and what's going on with children and etc., she's probably going to be right, even if I disagree. And one of the things we were having an issue with was breastfeeding. Now, we both wanted to 2-year-old, we wanted to get to 2 years. I kind of started getting funny about it. I know, but I want to talk about it. So I started getting funny. Well, we're gonna get to it. I gotta talk about Donnie for a second. Look how long she is for her age. So I started feeling a little embarrassed in public when she grabbed on the nipple and started sucking. So I'm like this big old baby. And then my daddy mentioned something about it. My father, he said, isn't it time to bring her off the thing? No, I didn't really want her off, but he was making me feel bad. So it's the way my wife weaned our daughter, which told me that, you know what? She's right on a lot of stuff. She didn't want to psychologically disturb the child.
Right.
She wanted to do it in a way to where she was weaning her gradually. And the thing of it is, this little girl, when we leave out the house or whatever, she's not crying like that. She maybe want to go, but she'll back up and she's cool. And the reason why she's not disturbed or distraught because she has that foundation. She feels she knows we're coming back. She knows we provide what she needs, and she's a very solid kid because of how we have taken her off things or provided things to her. She's not tripping like other kids.
And it's funny because in most non-Western cultures, it's around 2 years old that the child actually starts to wean.
Yeah.
It's only in the West where we're kind of like, okay, you've been on for 6 months or
no way.
Back away. In most cultures, they actually wean the child later in life. So that's actually wonderful. And I love the fact that you said that when it comes to certain things, you as the man, you choose to not operate in that alpha male role. But you're like, okay, no, I'm going to listen to my wife because she knows.
And I'll frown. I'll be upset. And I'm of two minds. I'm listening, but I'm mad and I want to do it my way. But I'm listening because I know at the end of the day that it's the best thing for Donnie.
Excellent.
I learned that's how he operates, but he's learned. We learn from each other how, because there are certain lanes that I stay out of that I know are his too. That I'll back off, and we know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and let us operate optimally as possible.
That's really good. And so you're not only building, which we're gonna get into, you're not only building financial wealth, but you're building emotional wealth, and you're building wealth and knowledge, and you're building wealth and stability. So
this stuff has to last.
And that's where financial wealth comes from. And in reality, my wife knows I run the household. Try to put it out there, man. I run my household.
All right, you guys, we're going to take a break for station identification. We'll be back in just a moment. When we get back, we're going to talk about the EDM. We're going to talk about investment, making good financial decisions. The Atchisons are in studio. If you hear a little voice off in the distance, just know that it's Dondi trying to talk to her dad. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, you guys, we are back here in studio with Donald Atchison of the Economic Development Ministry, among other things. So let's talk about financial advice, right? Let's start here because, and let's talk about why you're qualified.
Okay, so my personal philosophy from experience is that I won't take financial advice from anybody that's not making more money than me. And I tell people to have the same measuring stick. So if someone is giving you financial advice and they're in the same boat as you, rethink that, because the advice that they're giving is going to affect your life and your family's life. What makes me qualified to give financial advice, it's only limited. It's limited to the amount of money that I make. So I've come off of a $4 million loss a few years ago in my second divorce, and having lost $4 million, I had to build again. And when I started building again, I went from $10,000 the first year to $50,000 the second year to $141,000 the next year, and then to $289,000 the year after that, which was this past year.
Right.
So my financial advice are for people who make under $289,000.
Gotcha.
I'm qualified to do that because I make that. I'm qualified to give up to that advice, and probably even more, because I've had $4 million in assets at one time. So I'm valuable when it comes down to information up to that point, and I will be valuable in real assets again. When it comes down to financial advice, a person cannot have just been book read. They can't just have a degree. You have to actually put it in show and tell. That's what I believe in. So what makes me qualified is what it is that I'm capable of doing, what it is that I'm doing, and the experience that comes behind me. I'm more experienced not only because I've made it, but because I've lost it too, and now I know how to keep it.
Right. And so that's the one thing that I that's actually really beneficial, is it's not just a matter of the fact that, okay, at this point I've had millions.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say anyone can say they've had millions, but how do you bounce back after you lose millions? How do you build yourself back up to the point? So you started out with first going from losing millions, losing 4 million.
Well, no, I started off with nothing. I made $1 million in my first marriage, and I lost that in divorce.
Okay.
Ended up paying for both attorneys on both sides, hundreds of $1,000s out of pocket, and etc. Walked away with a house that was $200,000 and maybe $100,000 in cash. Started again, took that and built $4 million. Lost it again in another divorce. And so how do you start again? It's not easy. First of all, when a person hears, oh, this person lost millions and started again, it's just numbers in the story to them. That's my personal life.
Right.
And that's not easy to make that kind of money. And it's not a lot of money, but it's not easy to generate that kind of money and then lose it. You lose a lot of self-confidence with that. And then coming from the black community, like I'm a part of, when you lose things and people really didn't know you in the first place, and you're talking about business or this and that, they want to check you. They say, well, oh, nigga, you ain't got shit, you know?
Right.
And it's like that's almost a disgrace when you're talking to a person that's capable of doing it and have done it again. So when I restarted, I was dealing with already low self-esteem,
Right.
and then being challenged by people who have never made $20,000 or $30,000 a year.
Right.
When I was making $50,000, $60,000, and $70,000 a month, and that was a very difficult thing for me to overcome and have to overcome if I was going to do what it is that I'm doing right now. I had to get over that and realize that there are paradoxes in this world, and there are things that a lot of people are really outside of their pay grade. They really don't understand.
Right.
I give financial advice all the time, and most people who have a certain pay grade don't understand, and that's why they're at the pay grade that they're at.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So how do you rebuild?
You rebuild. The first thing is you want to have a mentor, someone who has similar experiences as you, and then you connect yourself with that mentor, and I can almost guarantee you they're going to give you information on the rebuild that is complete contrary to how you thought it was supposed to be done.
Okay.
And so that was one of the first things I did. I connected myself with people who have had similar experiences, who had the money, who had the resource. So when I was getting their information, it's not based off of somebody's philosophy. This is based off of a person who's got money. And my father is a person who has money, and he gave me very simple advice, and that was, Donald, get on your feet and purchase your first house. Again, you know how to do it. I don't need to sit and walk you through that. He says do it. And that's exactly what I did. And so when a person is starting again, the first thing you have to do is you got to just believe in yourself and do the same thing you did before, but do things different. So my difference, the things that I did different, was I became a different person. Before, I had an issue with not focusing on help. And that's the best way to make money in this world, is to help other people make money. It just makes you that much richer. That was the first thing that I changed. The second thing that I changed is I became the person that I needed to be to retain, to stay in a marriage, to keep my relationship, because that's where everything went to shit, went to hell. It was in how I conducted myself in my marriage. And once the wife decides to separate, it's going to be a battle. You're going to be paying for both things on both sides. I pay for attorneys on both sides. And then when they say half in California, it's not half, because if the wife wants to fight you for years to come, it's going to be half of what's left. And
Wow.
so that's where the losses came in. It was half. When you piss a woman off, the right woman, in the wrong way, then it's not going to be half. It's going to be everything you have, because at the end of the day, she'll take everything in order to make sure you have nothing. And
Wow.
that was my experience. But I deserved it. I had that coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you can own up to it. Okay. So,
Are you clear on, like, because you keep saying how? The how.
right.
Okay. It's the same way as if you've never made it the first time.
Right.
So a person, they'll come and say, Donald, how do I make $1 million?
Right.
And it's through aggregation of marginal gain. So the average millionaire in this country has never made more than $50,000 a year. So if a person makes $25,000 a year and they're asking me, how, Donald, do you do it? How did you do it? I say, well, okay, you're making $25,000 a year. Do you have half of what a millionaire would have who is making $50,000 a year? Do you have $500,000 assets? They say no. And I say it's because of what you're doing with your money. It's not how much you need, it's what you're doing with your money. Do you have life insurance? Are you running yourself life like a business? So that's one of the first things that I got, life insurance for myself, protecting myself, my wife. And it's not the a term life insurance, it's the life insurance that grows as a benefit. And I asked, are you incorporated? These are some of the basic things. Even the United States of America is incorporated. That's how they're able to generate the money that they generate. So once you're incorporated, then I start to ask this, okay, you want to sell tennis shoes, whatever you want to do, but do you have, and that's your product, but do you have individuals that you can call at a moment's notice and say, I need 10 grand, 20 grand, because that's more important than having the tennis shoes to sell. The reason why is because businesses dry up all the time. They need capital all the time. So you don't want to have to go to a bank. You want to be able to make a phone call and not have to jump through the paperwork. So how is it done? How did I get back up? I started contacting individuals who were interested in me beyond money, who were willing to write me checks, who were willing to support what it is that I was getting ready to do all over again. So that's how I did it. And a lot of people, they want to build their business, but your business starts first having a corporation, being structured, having that life insurance, because you immediately become worth something once you purchase life insurance. If I buy a $100,000 policy, I am $100,000 right there, just like that, because money is printed in that policy, represented printed paper. It's an asset. So once I can do that, and I can sit down and I can tell the person, this is what I've done. I've incorporated myself. I've taken this life insurance policy. No, my corporation is worth 100 grand on paper, and somebody says that's paper. Well, then you don't understand money, because when you understand money, you understand money. It's all about paper. And so once I do that, and I'm speaking to paper people who understand money, I say, I need you to back me with 100 grand. I need you to back me with your credit. I need you, and they'll do it. And the reason why they'll do it is because you put together a structure, you put together an outline and their return on their investment. Once you do that, that's more important than actually your service or your product. Now when you have a service and product, you have a service and product backed by power. That's more important than anything. We miss out on that. We start our businesses and don't have anybody that'll write us a check.
Wow.
That's where business starts. And a lot of people don't know this. If you walk into a bank, you got no credit, no assets, no revenue, and you're a bum, and you stink, and all these other things like that. You got lice crawling around in your hair, and you go into the banker and you say, I need to borrow some money. The average consumer will say that banker's not going to do it and will kick you out, which is true. But from an investor's perspective, is how I like to live my life and look at things. I would ask the banker, okay, now that you said no, do you have the power to loan me money under the conditions that I just said, with lice jumping out of my hair, with no credit and no assets and nothing? Yes, they'll say yes. Then you have to ask, well, why is it that the banking industry has given you this power, but you're not loaning it to me? And you'll find out when people say, I don't have this, I don't have that, the banks have the power to loan you it, but they're not, because you don't have a personal relationship with the banker. So when you have a personal relationship with the money who has the power to give it to you, it changes the whole schematic. You don't need to jump through this hoop or that hoop anymore. And that's where businesses start, and that's where businesses fail. So if you have that relationship going in, when you need the money, it's there.
I like one of the things that you said that I really it turned on a light bulb for me, is to treat yourself as a business.
Absolutely.
So once you so the first step is to get life insurance. So let's talk with why not term?
Oh, term is the same as renting an apartment. So if I rent an apartment, I don't get a write-off. It's not an investment. It's not mine. When it's time to go, I have nothing I can draw from it. So other type of insurance policies actually grow in benefits, which means if it started off as a $50,000 policy, it grows over a period of time. You can draw money out of it and things like that. Term doesn't allow you to do anything but die and maybe leave people that you haven't structured in the right way with money that they don't deserve and they're going to blow off.
Got it. So then what other types of insurance are out, or what is the insurance that you're recommending?
It depends on the circumstance. So I use a key person policy. Key person policies means that I went and sat down with an insurance agent, John and Deborah. They're also EDM members, but I keep the money tight within the family. So I used John and Deborah, got a key person policy, which means that I'm a key person in my corporation. We need to be insured in the case of something happens to me. I also got a key person policy for my wife, and my daughter also has a policy in this as well through the corporation. And so that I would say that the type of insurance is going to deal with the type of circumstance you have, but it's going to be very similar to an insurance product that grows over a period of time. Nothing that's just stays stable and it just waits for you to die. But you should have an insurance policy, even if it's going to be term, because everyone's going to die, and that's a way to transfer wealth. That is like one of the number one ways to do it.
Okay, so absolute baseline, if you can't do anything else, get term.
Yes, absolutely.
But if you're looking to grow and you're looking to develop wealth, then you want to look beyond term.
Other products, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it's also the term they don't consider an asset. So one of the fastest ways to give your corporation an asset, because that's one of the prerequisites for a loan qualification, what assets do you have? Well, that insurance policy is an asset. So you can say my company is worth $200,000 because of this $200,000 policy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So now the next step is, you said, to incorporate yourself.
Yeah, you run your life like a business is the number one EDM commandment. It's our first commandment. And to run your life like a business means that, let's just say that you want to put a business together and you haven't quite figured out what you're going to do as far as your product or your service, but you've incorporated yourself. Well, if you're an S corporation but you have a full-time job, what happens is, if this corporation, when you're developing it, takes losses, which all corporations do starting off, then those losses get to be written off into your personal paycheck that you're receiving from your employer. So the average person is giving 1/3 of their paycheck back to taxes. So if a person's making $30,000 a year, they're paying about 10 in taxes. They file their tax returns, they get about $2,500 back. So what happens is there's $7,500 still on the table. You've incorporated, you created this S corporation, you have these losses. That means that $7,500 that you get to dig into when you start to get that back. So you haven't even started business. You haven't sold your first tennis shoe, haven't provided a service. You're just putting your corporation together, and now already you still got that job, but now instead of getting back $2,500 return, you're getting back 10 grand. And you haven't even done real business yet. So just by running your life like a business, the government rewards you for that. So you notice they always say, well, the rich are not paying any taxes, or they're getting all these tax loops and tax holes. No such thing as a tax loop or a tax hole. They're rewarding them for what it is that they want, and they're punishing people for what it is that they don't want. So when people are not receiving tax benefits, it's because the government is saying, think different, do different, and you'll get different.
Wow. That is incredibly powerful. Thank you so much. I hope that you guys are paying attention, taking notes. We'll be back in studio with Mr. Donald Atchison of Economic Development Ministry. All right, you guys, we are back here in studio. We're going to actually jump into that. We were talking offline during the break. And so talk to us about building a business down versus building it up. What does that even mean?
Okay, so the average person they need money to start their business. They need money to get the product, to get in their space, or whatever it is that they need to do. That's building a business up. They might even have a business plan. They might be incorporated. They might go on Shark Tank and say, I need so much money. I have so much in sales and stuff like that. And will you back me so I can get to the next level? That's building a business up. Mm-hmm. Most people build their businesses like that. Building a business down means you first have the base of a business, which is your corporation. Then you you walk in and you get your business accounts. But you're more creative. So you got a person here saying, I need $50,000 for my business. These are going to be my team, my staff, and et cetera, et cetera. We have so much in sales, blah, 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 blah. But then you have another guy who says the same exact thing, but he also says, and I also have investors. And I also have credit lines that I've developed. And I also have, and that's building a business down. So that this is it. If you have no credit and you have $5,000 and the person said, well, Donald, that's what I make a month and that's for my bill money. Okay, well, structure it in a way to where when you open that account, you take that $5,000 that is for your bill money and you get you a secured line of credit. And you go ahead and you max that card out on your secured line of credit and you pay your bills. That's building down. And what I mean by that, what's going to happen is, one, it gives you incentive to correct your personal credit so that you can unsecure that line, which means that what happens is, you've taken $5,000, you created this secured line of credit that they're going to unsecure once your credit scores go up and you reapply to have this unsecured. They're going to give you your $5,000 back and probably increase that credit limit as well. So what you've done is you've taken 5 and you've doubled it. You haven't sold anything in your business yet. You haven't provided any service. That's building down. That means your structure is going down this way. So what happens when you're in front of an investor and you're saying, look what I've done with nothing. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what I can do with something? Can you imagine when I actually serve or sell my product or provide my service, how much more money I'm going to make based off of this down structure, based off of having the structure? Oh, and guess what else, by the way? I'm asking you for $50,000, but I already have a guarantor who's already guaranteed me a $50,000 loan. Then the investor says, well, why are you asking this for me for the capital? Mm-hmm. So that I can have more capital to be able to strike with. But I'm showing you that I have what it is that I've already asking for, which means you're in a very strong position. Most people are going and asking for something that they don't have. So that's building down versus building from up.
So really, it's the whole idea is you are creating you're making yourself attractive to an investor.
Absolutely. That's building down.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so the whole goal is to make yourself attractive to people who already have the money, who are already financially ahead of you, that can then invest in what you're doing, and then you can give them a rate of return. Yeah,
who understand the structure, because you ever see a guy on the street and you say, wow, he can really blow, he can sing, and then you hear something on the radio and be like, what is that? Mm-hmm. How is he making money? And this guy can't even get an interview. And the reason why is because of the structure behind this guy over here who can't sing versus the guy who can sing and has no structure. He's got no support system. So money people understand support systems. They see safety. They see a return on their investment. So you can have just a basic product or idea. It doesn't have to be a great idea, and it can make more money on that right structure, that right system, than a person with a great idea, because there's a lot of great ideas out there that aren't making money, and it's because they don't have a system, they don't have a structure. They're not even incorporated. You can't make money unless you start to play like the big boys play. There's no successful corporation in this world, or company in this world that's generating millions of dollars in this country that's not incorporated. That's a person who's taking business serious. You've got to be incorporated.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's a wealth of advice right there. That's really good. So what led you to start the Economic Development Ministry?
$4 million of losses. I was going to jump right back into investing again, but coming across the age of 40, I started to realize, even getting close to it, when I was losing the money, because you don't just lose $4 million like that. It took me 4 or 5 years to actually lose it all. Wow. Once the divorce started and the process of the separation. So once I started to realize I was going to have to rebuild, I knew that I didn't want to just make money again, because it's no real fulfillment. I've done it before. I come from a family that has resources. I wanted more out of life. So giving back and showing other people how to do it as I was doing it again, it was what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been much easier to I would even have more than I have now if I just got back into investing. But when you're trying to bring other people with you, it's a different kind of fight. So it takes a little bit longer because of structure and the people that are involved. You have to bring them up so that everyone's on equal ground. At least there's the weakest link is the strongest link as well. And that's a lot harder to build that kind of business than to just invest again. It'd be easy for me to say the hell with EDM and just make money. Mm-hmm. But to bring EDM, to cultivate my wife and my daughter and my sons are a part of the corporation. corporation too, and then some of my brothers and cousins are shareholders and things like that, and then to bring people in who aren't blood family members and have them as associates and executives and shareholders, that's a lot of work to build people up. But that's exactly what I want to do, because when I die someday, and I told my wife, I said, donate me to UCSD, the body or something like that. So I don't want to spend the money. For real, we don't need to. I'm gone. I don't want to spend that money. But I want people to say, wherever I'm at, if she burned me up or something like that, to say, you know what? He changed my life. He affected my life. My whole life is different because of this guy. That's why EDM. That's why I went there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how does it work? And seriously, when I found out the cost for the information that you give,
Yeah.
you have to tell them, because you're not going to believe me if I say it. But if he says
$5 a class. Okay, this is the thing. For like 2 or 3 years, we were free. But a lot of vampires came in the room and sucked me dry. They sucked the information, they sucked me dry, and didn't even use it, stepped all over me. It was a lot of disrespect and things like that. So it was just like, okay, I needed to weed that out. Once we charged $5, our attendance dropped. And then it started to raise up again. And what happened was the quality of the people in the room started to increase. It's just a Starbucks coffee. But the thing of it is, when people don't want to put something into something, but they just want something for free, even $5 is a lot of money to them. So 5 little measly dollars increased it. Do you know how many of our members now are in their early 30s, like 30, 31, and they're making almost $200,000 a year because we charge $5 a class?
Wow.
Because people who are making money have no problem spending it on a regular basis. Now, poor people have a tendency to spend money exactly on what they want to spend it on, but nothing that requires any type of discipline that's involved. Like people say this with our community, they always say, we need to come together, we need to put our money together, we need to do this and do that. And now a lot of black community that are on so-called conscious paid in San Diego, they don't even talk to me. They get mad at me because I say, hope, stop saying what we should do and tell me what you're doing. You do it. You want us to do this, you do it. You want us to boycott a store, you want us to have our own store, you get a store and you hire people, you do it. And that's what my philosophy is. Everything I say we should do, I do it. One, because nobody's going to do it but the individual. And when the individual does it, we end up all benefiting, or many people benefit. So let's say this, we were queens and kings in Africa. No disrespect, but that's a damn lie. There was a bunch of bums and thieves and stealers and this and that. We are able to say we were queens and kings because of the individuals that rose to the occasion and became kings and queens. But some of us were just nothing there in Africa. And it's the same thing today. If, I come from a time and you come from a time where we're able to say, well, we have the nuclear bomb and we have this math and that math. I can't build a car. And I don't know about this type of math or that math and the nuclear bomb, but we come from an era where we can say that, hey, this was what we have in our day and time. We're riding on the coattails of other people that figured it out. And that's what we're doing as people and the black people in America. We're riding off the greatness of our past, not realizing that we probably come from a lineage of bumps. And we have to personally do something to bring ourselves out of that condition and stop saying what we should do. Do it yourself, and you will find that, like when we say there's not any money in our community, lies.
Right.
That just means you are not doing anything.
Right.
Because if you were doing something, you'd be attached to money.
Right.
And that's my philosophy, is that I've flown in between multiple worlds in our black community right here in San Diego. I'll be sitting with brothers and sisters who don't understand want, and I'll be sitting with brothers and sisters who that's all they live. And I'm not going to say that the brothers and sisters who don't understand want did it themselves to get there, and I'm not going to say the ones who are not there have put themselves completely in that condition, but we do have the power to choose whatever it is that we want in life at any given time. My first wife told me, she said, when she took my last dollar, she said, you opened the door for it. And I did. Everything negative that has ever happened to me is because I opened the door for it. Everything positive is because I decided, I didn't do it myself, but I decided that I was going to do it. Mm-hmm. And then when after doing it, then other people started to support me. But if we sit and complain about, like, for instance, we say, some brothers and sisters, they say, man, why you advocate school? That's the white man's education. One thing, I was in the United States military, and I understand military strategy, and that is, I'm not dumb. And I'm not going to let somebody else put their name on my education and then call it theirs, and then I'm going to refuse to go get educated. So just because Europeans say this is our degree, no, that's our degree and our education with your name on it. So I'm not going to run from education, because even in the mystery schools of Kemet, you had degrees. You had to go through an educational system. And so when you go through the educational system, it's not the system that determines your success. It just shows that you are willing to sacrifice to play the game. A lot of us don't want to sacrifice to play the game. We want to freestyle by saying, like for instance, this is one they'll say, I'm disciplined. To be disciplined requires there be a master and a student, because it comes from the word disciple. It takes two, from the D-I and the word discipline, for one person to be disciplined. So if you're just disciplined because you're self-disciplined, that's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist.
Right.
You have to follow someone's course. Some people say I'm self-made. No, you're not, because your mama produced you, your daddy produced you, and if your grandparent got snuffed out, you wouldn't be here today. And if your mama didn't breastfeed you, but you'd probably be more illiterate than you already are, because your brain wouldn't have fully developed. And it's not to talk bad about people, but people say things all the time and have no understanding of what they're saying. We shouldn't do shit. The individual needs to get up and get it going.
Right.
That's what power is.
So, and I really agree with a lot of what you're saying, and it always comes back to, and I'm going to quote a scripture from the Bible. It says, God says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And a lot of times we regurgitate things that we hear in a communal sense, without taking the time to say, no, I'm going to get an understanding. I want to find out exactly what this means. And I like the fact that you brought out, it's so easy to say, and I think sometimes people who are disenfranchised or disadvantaged, to have a sense of hope, they'll say, I'm connected to kings and queens.
Yeah.
Okay, but then what you're saying is an entire continent was made up of only kings and queens.
That's right.
And that they had no subjects, which is not possible, because in order for a monarchy to work, there has to be a monarchy, and that monarchy has to have subjects.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's a little deeper too. When we say what we should be doing in order for our communities to be built, it's a psychological wall that we're putting up of protection. Because if we say what we should be doing, well, then I'm doing my part by saying, brothers and sisters, we need to get together. But if we don't get together, at least I can say I said we should do it, but it's not happening. But I said it, but I can't make them do it, so it makes us not feel guilty for it not happening.
That's good.
You need to get up and do it yourself.
That's really, really good. I love that. So we started out with, first, you need to get life insurance. If you have to, absolutely have to, get term. But once you decide you want more from life, then you need to look into other forms of insurance outside of term.
Run your life like a business.
Then the second thing is run your life, or is that the first?
That's the first thing.
That's really the first thing, is to run your life like a business. I really like that, because then that puts the responsibility on you to manage your time, manage resources, get investors.
That's right.
And then when you start to build your business, build down rather than build up.
That's the insurance, and that's having a banking relationship with the bankers. Did you know that Wells Fargo, right there in Market Creek, is willing to do interesting things simply because they don't meet their quota every month when it comes down to lending and when it comes down to opening accounts? There are all kind of things that you can work out down there. It's just a matter of understanding the terminology, the language, and going in with a system.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And so as you're building your business, you want to make yourself attractive to investors. It isn't so much about making, which is a little, I wouldn't say it's a rule breaker, but it's a different way of looking at it.
It is.
Because typically, when you think of building your business, you want to make yourself attractive to those that are you're going to be selling your product to.
Yeah.
But actually, if you want sustainability, you want to build your business to those who will invest in your business.
Well, think about it. Facebook, great product. Everyone in the world just about is using it, and it was not profitable for 10 years. I mean, at any given time, if there were not investors there to invest in that business, it was gone. It doesn't matter how much people love the product. You have to have the investors there that are going to be interested in providing the resource that's going to be needed to build that business. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar business because the investors were there. That's the most important thing, being able to draw on that capital at any given time, and then your product is going to have an opportunity to be able to survive.
And so I'm so glad you brought up Facebook, because Facebook is known for likes. And a lot of times when we look at business structure, it's so easy to go by the number of likes that exist on a particular, if I post something and it gets a lot of likes, and I must be doing really well. But that doesn't mean anything, because for the first 10 years of Facebook's life, it made no money but had a lot of likes. There are a lot of people that liked Facebook, but Facebook wasn't really bringing in any money. Now that it's bringing in money, now those likes mean something.
They mean something. That's right. It was it's all statistics at first. It's and it's all statistics. You know, I am able to use Facebook to be able to make actual money and able to say this is why we made money because this is what we did on Facebook. I can translate it into something tangible. So that's what I use Facebook for. I use Facebook and I say, okay, well, how many people did I get to this event? How much money did I make from this event? And did I use Facebook exclusively to market this event? And if that's the case, yes. And I do it so subtle. You know, I have aggressive pages, which is a page, and I have the group, which is a little bit more interactive, and then I have my personal page. I make more money on my personal page and don't sell anything than any other pages. It's because if a person doesn't like me, it doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter what or it doesn't matter what you're saying either. If they gotta like me. So on my page, I have myself, my wife, my daughter, and that's an important introduction.
Right.
And that's how you sell any product. That's how you market any type of anything. You have to attach people to what it is that has substance. And right now, I know that my money is going to be based off of how I build my family. That's why my son is my acquisition officer. I got another son. This is interesting too. So this one son was laying on the couch. Couldn't get both of them. I can't get rid of their asses. But so this one son on the couch. So I bought an investment property in Michigan and shipped him on out there with me. We went out there to Michigan to rehab the property with one of my brothers as well. And left him out there, you know, to rehab. So I went to run the son out of the house. He's 21 years old. So, but the thing of it is, he started to grow up. He started to see what his father was doing in some cases, and he wanted that. Even though he's bragging and saying, "I'm going to have more than that," I don't really see where you're doing anything to have more than that. But now he started to grow up. And the thing of it is, I have a son out there who now I said, "Hey, son, I got an appraiser going out to an property." He's going to be there. He's going to walk the appraiser through this and through that. And I'm building my business off of my family. That's where it is. That's where all the money is. That's why houses in Egypt were called pharaoh. Pharaoh means house. And that's what I'm building. I'm building my house.
That's really good. All right, you guys, we'll be back in just a moment. When we come back, we are going to talk about the conference that he has coming up, as well as some other projects he has going on. We'll be back in just a moment.
Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns about today's show? Would you like to share your testimony or any constructive critiques? Would you like to know how to be a guest on The Simone Edwards Show? Please feel free to email us at thesimoneedwardsshow@gmail.com. We are also available on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. Be sure to follow us to receive updates regarding the show and our other ministries.
All right, we are back here in studio with Donald Atchison of the Economic Development Ministry. All right, so you have a conference coming up next Saturday.
Yeah, seminar.
A seminar. And the seminar is not everyone can be an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Why do you say that?
Okay, so I don't like Donald Trump. I want to say that right now. I didn't vote for the man. And he said something some years back. It was actually in one of his books, and I disagreed at the time. I didn't know any better. He says, hey, stop telling people that they can make money in real estate. Yeah, everybody can't make money in real estate. And he's a very belligerent type of dude, but he was telling the truth.
Okay.
Not everybody can make money because not everybody is going to get up and do it. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So I can tell someone how to do something, they're going to walk away and be poor for the rest of their life. It's not because they didn't have the potential. The potential was there, but the mindset wasn't there.
Gotcha.
And it's like the Bible says, you know, there's going to be poor among you at all times. That's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
Life and circumstances is just going to make it that way. And so when we say in this seminar that not everybody can be an entrepreneur, because we know some people are going to want to work. And some people are going to make an excuse and say, I had a hangover. There's no way I'm going to a seminar at 9 o'clock in the morning on my only day off. That's fine. That's cool. Those are your decisions. So not everybody can be an entrepreneur, and I'm fine with that.
Okay. You also have, so you have the Economic Development Ministry that meets every Saturday from 9 to 10.
Every Saturday from 9 to 10, but we're also working with members throughout the week as well to help them build their businesses. So it's kind of crazy. They're getting the $5 thing for class, and then they still call me at midnight, and I'm still helping them with their business. And then we do have packages where we charge some clients. Those are the ones that can afford it. You know, it's different price packages and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm helping people and giving them everything I have.
That sounds really good. So then you have the conference next Saturday. You also on the side, not on the side, but along with that, you have a karate school.
Yeah, okay. So EDM is actually comprised of a lot of things. We do contracting. We're also licensed realtors. When I say contracting, roofing, plumbing, electrical, anything we can build or tear down, we're licensed realtors. So if you need that, attorneys, things like that. And then, yes, martial arts is my passion, and that's all. Actually, Doc's Karate is owned by Economic Development Ministry. So a lot of our members that are in EDM are actually martial arts students as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been teaching martial arts for a while.
So from Economic Development Ministry, within that, you have people who are lawyers. Within that, you have people who are contractors.
Absolutely.
And then so you brought this group of people together, basically said, what can you do? What can you do? What do you bring to the table?
Well, what happened is we helped them build their businesses, and in some cases, we said, it makes more sense for us to be partners than going it alone. And so they're actually, in some cases, shareholders.
Wow.
And so when I'm suggesting someone's product or service, they're probably a shareholder, or they're probably associated with a subsidiary that we have. We have a subsidiary called First Investors. It was put together by a ragtag group of individuals that were a part of EDM that I thought deserved to be able to have more, and so I showed them how to pool their resources. EDM owns a percentage of it, and they're investing, they're loaning money to people to buy real estate. They purchase real estate, they're developing, they're getting into farming, and then we created another subsidiary called the EDM Cash Flow Club, and that was specifically for poor people that were associated with EDM that had been busting their butts and haven't been getting anything. And then I said, okay, if you come up with a little bit, EDM will match every dollar for it, and we'll put our resources, our credit, and our assets behind any investment that you're moving forward on. They have their own team, their own CEO, their own secretary, their own treasurer, and we're supporting them 100%. So there's a lot that we've spread it off and started to do. We also have a charter, a team put together that's moving forward to create a charter so that we can have a school. And EDM is going to make sure that we have the resource to be able to provide the facility for that. So we're doing a lot, and we're doing as much as we can with everything that we have. We're firing on all pistons.
I really like that, and it's the sense of, to use the word synergy, but it's really coming together and getting like-minded people. And it just started with a class on how to develop financial wealth.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't lost $4 million, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the good side.
That was the good side, yeah.
That is awesome. You're the author of a couple of books. Share with us
author
those
of one
books.
book.
One
It's
book?
embarrassing. I've written. Author of one published book. I've written several books, but it was my first step into publishing about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a vampire novella.
Okay.
And I had some marginal success. I ended up getting a publisher, and things kind of dropped out, and I didn't fulfill my part of the contract, and etc. But it was a learning experience. When I look back, I'm embarrassed because there's misspelled words and stuff like this. It was self-published, and the cover could have been better and this and that. But it gave me a taste for something where I really headed with this. So EDM, at the end of the day, what I see that it looks like, it's an EDM facility where we're operating out of. We have our charter school, we have the martial arts school, we have subsidiaries we're running out of there, and we're at the end of the day doing theater. We're doing theater, and we're publishing books, and we're having a great time expressing ourselves through art.
That's excellent. All right. So if you are interested in developing, you don't really have a firm financial footing, or you're looking to strengthen your financial footing, definitely reach out to the Economic Development Ministry. You can find them on Facebook. They have their own group. He's also here in San Diego. And for $5 a week, you can find out if you are a part of it and it's something that you decide you want to go with it and grow with them and become a shareholder and investor, great. If you just want to partner with them for a short period of time to get a firm financial footing, a better understanding of how money works and how you can get money to work for you, you definitely want to take advice from somebody who's been there, who's had it, who's lost it, and who's building it back up. And one of the things that I really liked that he said was, in starting out, is I can only give advice to those who are at the 289,000. And so as he goes higher, then of course he's going to, attract those who want to go higher with him as well. So we hope that you've enjoyed this interview. We hope that you found something beneficial and substantial in it. If you are interested in being a part of his seminar next week, where will it be held?
The Crown Plaza Hotel in Mission Valley. And I want to thank you, Simone, too. You're a beautiful woman, too. Are you single? I like to hook people up. If I can find somebody, okay, I'm gonna see. I'll make sure they got more than you. That's always the goal. The man's gotta have something going on if you're gonna approach a woman.
Slightly allergic to relationships.
That's okay. Just gotta find that good one. You guys have it harder than us. That's too bad. But yeah. Thank you so much. You got a great personality. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you have a beautiful
family. And I love what
family.
you're doing. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing. You're one of the jewels in San Diego that should be at the very least acknowledged for what it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I would love to work with you too and attach you to some individuals that might be able to help support your system.
Absolutely. I definitely welcome that. A really quick plug, how all of this kind of came into being is God opened the door for me, but he had birthed a desire in me a long time ago. I would drive down, I think it was Euclid Avenue, and I would see this guy, and he would have this amazing artwork. I mean, just amazing, and I love art. Mm-hmm. And it would just be on the side of a fence. And I was thinking, that guy just needs a platform. That's all he needs is an opportunity and a platform. What you do with it is entirely up to you, but he just needs a platform. And so that's one of the things about the Simone Edwards show is I want to give people an opportunity. What you do with the opportunity after you have the platform is entirely up to you, but at least I want to give you a chance to kind of put yourself out there and put your name out there and what you do and let people know, because there are people who are doing great things.
I gotta hug you. I appreciate that. That people don't understand how serious that is and what kind of sacrifice. I already know you've been sacrificing in pain and trying to figure out how this is going to get paid and that, and you keep on going and you keep on doing it. That's the entrepreneur spirit, and it's just now you just need to connect that energy into a system.
Yeah, and I have a great team. I have a great technical director, Antonia, and then Bill came along this year and just kind of took us under his wing, and so we're gonna all rise together. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to go. We are at the top of the hour. We hope that you've enjoyed the interview. Definitely reach out to Donald if you want to create a firm financial footing and you want to talk to somebody who has made it and lost it and has rebuilt it. To me, those are the best people to get advice from, because they're going to tell you the mistakes that they've made, what you can avoid, and what you should and shouldn't do. Tune in next week. We're going to have a break next week, so we'll be airing one of our we'll be re-airing one of our old interviews. We'll let you know what that is coming up, but we'll be back on the 29th with Pastor's Corner, Food for Your Soul, and we're going to have Suffragan Bishop William Benson in the house sharing with us what God has put on his heart for the rest of 2017. So if you want to find out where God is going and get in the vein with that so that your spirit can be blessed, definitely tune in. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.